Emily Bennett rushed through another crowded hallway at the hospital in Seattle. The sound of machines and hurried footsteps constantly chasing her. She was a dedicated nurse, always putting her patients first, always trying to appear strong. But inside she felt empty. Her days were filled with caring for others, while her own heart felt ignored. She told herself she was fine, yet every night she went home feeling like something important was missing from her life. Her apartment was small and quiet, too quiet. She would kick off her shoes, drop her bag on the couch, and stare at the ceiling. Wondering when life had stopped feeling exciting, she used to dream about love, about building a future with someone who truly understood her. But after the painful breakup with Jason 2 years ago, she built a wall around her heart. A tall one. She didn't want to get hurt again. She told herself love was just too risky. Jason had been charming at first. Sweet smiles, long drives, promises that felt like magic. Emily had believed every word. She had pictured a wedding, a home, maybe a dog running in the yard. But slowly, Jason changed. He grew distant, forgot to call, forgot why he loved her. The night he said he needed someone else, Emily felt like the world had closed its doors on her. She had held tears until he left, then cried into her pillow until sunrise. After that night, she stopped believing in love stories. She focused on helping others because it was easier than healing herself. She worked double shifts, studied new medical techniques, and barely took time off. She gave everything she had to her job, hoping the exhaustion would silence her feelings. People saw her as brave and strong, someone who always smiled. They didn't see how heavy her heart felt or how lonely she was when the lights went out. At home, she often found messages from her younger sister, Lily, who was in college in Vancouver. Lily talked about exams, new friends, late-night coffees. Emily tried to reply with cheerful words, hiding how tired she truly was. She had taken on extra work to help pay Lily's tuition, sacrificing her own comfort. She would never complain about that. She loved her sister more than anything. But sometimes she wondered if she had forgotten how to love herself. One afternoon, after nearly 12 hours on her feet, Emily found a note in her locker from her coworker and closest friend, Sarah. It wasn't a long message, just a simple reminder. You need a break. I booked you a spa appointment. No excuses. Attached to it was a gift card for a massage. Emily stared at it like it was a foreign object. A massage. Relaxation. That felt like a luxury she didn't deserve. She almost marched right to Sarah to return it, but her aching back argued with her pride. She remembered how she woke up every morning feeling stiff and older than she really was. She remembered how she couldn't even recall the last time someone held her hand or spoke gently to her. Maybe 1 hour of peace wasn't too much to accept. That weekend, rain poured through the gray sky, tapping loudly against the windows. Seattle rain always felt like a soundtrack to her life, soft but always present. She slipped on a sweater, grabbed an umbrella, and made her way to the spa downtown. The entrance smelled of lavender and warm oils. The lighting was soft, golden, like a sunrise she hadn't seen in ages. Emily almost turned back. It felt strange stepping into a place meant for comfort when her heart was so used to surviving without it. But a quiet voice inside begged her to keep walking. While she waited, she looked around and saw other people sitting peacefully, smiling, talking quietly. They looked relaxed, like they had no worries in the world. Emily wondered what that felt like. Her hands trembled slightly. She wasn't scared of the massage. She was scared of letting her guard down. As she waited, she remembered the warm moments she used to share with someone. Little gestures like brushing crumbs off her cheek or hugging her from behind. She felt a sting of longing. Not for Jason, but for connection. For someone who cared whether she came home tired or sad. She tried to shake the thought away. It's just a massage, she whispered under her breath. She didn't want to hope for anything more. Hope had disappointed her before. But deep inside, a soft flicker of curiosity started to wake up. She had spent so long running from feelings that she forgot how good it might feel to stop running for a moment. She didn't know what would happen here or what she would feel. Still, she stayed. When a receptionist finally called her name, Emily stood up and took a slow breath. She followed the woman down a hallway toward a room that smelled like eucalyptus and comfort. With each step, her heart beat a little faster. She felt a nervous excitement she couldn't explain. The room was simple but warm. Soft music played like waves in the distance. There was a massage table covered with clean white sheets. The dim lighting made everything look safe and calm. Emily stood there for a moment, not sure what she was walking into emotionally. She didn't know she was about to meet someone who would shift the balance of her carefully controlled life. She didn't know this simple appointment would touch parts of her heart she thought were permanently numb. At that moment, she only knew one thing for sure. She needed this. Not just the massage, but the feeling that life could still surprise her in good ways. Emily closed her eyes and allowed her shoulders to drop for the first time in months. Maybe this was the day she would start to find herself again. She didn't know what was coming. She didn't expect anything magical. She simply let herself breathe. But life had a plan of its own, and the next moment would change everything she thought she knew about healing. The door opened quietly, and a man stepped into the soft-lit room. Emily glanced up, expecting someone older, someone who looked like every tired therapist she had ever seen. Instead, she saw a calm and confident expression, a pair of kind brown eyes, and a gentle smile that instantly softened her nerves. His name tag read Liam Carter. He spoke in a warm tone that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. "Hi, Emily. I'll be your therapist today. Just relax and let me know if anything feels uncomfortable." His voice had a steady comfort to it, like he had spent years learning how to soothe pain without pushing too hard. Emily nodded. She didn't trust her voice yet. She was surprised by how nervous she suddenly felt. She wasn't here to start anything new. She just wanted to feel less pain in her body, not feel anything in her heart. Liam noticed the tension in her shoulders. "You've been carrying a lot," he said kindly. It wasn't a question. It was an understanding. As she settled onto the table, the quiet in the room felt different. It wasn't empty silence. It was safe silence. Her heartbeat slowed a little. She let herself breathe deeper. Emily could feel the steady rhythm she had forgotten she had. When Liam began the massage, his hands were warm and steady. They moved with purpose, finding knots of stress she didn't even know existed. Emily felt her thoughts racing at first, but then his presence somehow quieted the noise in her head. Each motion seemed to say, "You're allowed to rest. You don't have to pretend here." He stayed professional, respectful, and careful, yet his touch carried empathy. It was as if he could see everything she had been hiding behind that tired smile she wore every day. "Your muscles are really tight," he said softly. "You probably do a lot for others." Emily swallowed hard. Her eyes burned, not from pain, but from the truth in his words. "I work at the hospital," she whispered. "That explains the tension," he replied. "People who take care of others often forget to care for themselves." For a moment, Emily worried her emotions might spill out. She had spent so long pretending she didn't feel anything. Now, with every gentle movement, she felt her defenses cracking. But Liam didn't push her to talk. He let the quiet speak for her. He let the room carry a calm she hadn't felt in years. Emily noticed details she didn't expect to care about. The way he paid attention, the thoughtful pauses, the soft focus in his eyes, like he truly cared about his work. He wasn't rushing through the session. He wasn't going through motions. He wanted to help her feel lighter. Time felt different in that room. Minutes stretched like soft fabric, giving her space to breathe. Her muscles slowly loosened, letting go of exhaustion she once believed was permanent. She tried not to think about how good it felt to have someone take care of her for a change. She tried not to think about how lonely she had been. But Liam's compassion made it impossible to pretend. She wasn't hurting inside. At one moment, their eyes briefly met in the mirror near the table. His gaze wasn't intrusive. It was pure understanding. Emily quickly looked away, afraid he might see everything she had locked up inside. Her voice came out quiet. "Thank you. I didn't realize how much I needed this." He smiled softly, not proud, just caring. "Sometimes life becomes heavy. We forget we're human." That simple sentence almost broke her. It was like he had reached right into the hidden ache inside her chest and acknowledged it without judgment. Near the end, Liam slowed his movements and gently placed a folded towel near her shoulders. "I hope today gave you a little peace," he said. Emily nodded again, still trying to process how she felt. She moved to sit up, and for a moment she didn't trust her legs to hold her. She felt light, Tom, almost new. When Liam opened the door for her, he hesitated just a second. His voice lowered, sincere and careful. "If life has been overwhelming, I hope today reminded you that you deserve moments of comfort too." Emily's breath caught, not because his words were romantic, but because they were true. She wasn't used to someone saying she deserved anything. She stepped into the hallway, carrying a strange flutter in her chest. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was something she hadn't felt in years. As she checked out at the front desk, Emily tried to act normal, like her world hadn't just shifted from a single massage. She told herself it was silly to feel so much over a stranger. But her mind replayed his gentle tone, his caring eyes, his understanding. Walking outside, Seattle's rain sprinkled lightly against her hair. She hugged her coat tighter around her body, but inside she felt warmer than she had in a long time. Emily paused under her umbrella and looked back at the spa entrance. For a brief second, she considered going back, saying thank you again, maybe asking something more. But she couldn't, not yet. Fear was still louder than hope. She walked away, her thoughts tangled in confusion and curiosity. She didn't expect to ever think about a massage therapist after the appointment ended. Yet now she couldn't stop wondering about him. Who was Liam Carter? Why did it feel like he could see through her? Emily tried to convince herself it didn't matter. Beautiful moments don't always lead to anything bigger. Sometimes they just exist for comfort. That's what she told herself. But deep down, she already knew the truth she wasn't ready to face. Liam wasn't just a therapist who helped her muscles relax. He had touched something far more guarded. He had comforted a heart she thought was beyond repair. And even if she tried to forget it, destiny wasn't finished with them yet. Emily told herself she wouldn't go back. She tried to push the memory of that massage deep into her busy life. She told her heart to calm down and forget. But the truth refused to stay quiet. Every night when she returned home from long shifts at the hospital, the silence reminded her how much that 1 hour had changed her. She remembered the warmth in Liam's voice, the care in his hands, the way he made her feel seen without asking for anything. Those thoughts followed her like a soft echo she couldn't escape. Days passed, but instead of fading, the memory grew stronger. Her hands would freeze over her phone, tempted to call the spa. She would start to dial, then stop herself again. She wasn't supposed to feel this excited. She barely knew him. Yet something inside her wanted to feel alive again. Finally, after a week of overthinking, she booked another appointment, telling herself it was only for her neck pain. But her heart knew better. When she walked back into the spa, her stomach fluttered with nerves. The calm scent of lavender felt like a welcome she didn't know she needed. Liam appeared from the hallway with the same comforting smile, but this time something in his eyes looked surprised and happy. "Emily," he said softly, like her name was a gift he didn't expect. She smiled back, shy but unable to hide her excitement. As they entered the treatment room, the air felt different from last time. It wasn't just a relaxing space anymore. It felt like a place where something important waited to happen. Liam adjusted the pillows and spoke gently. "I'm glad you came back." Emily's chest tightened at the honesty in those words. "My neck was hurting," she tried to explain casually. Liam didn't argue. He gave a small nod, but his eyes said he understood the real reason. As he began the massage, the comfort returned instantly. But this time, they talked. Not small talk. Real talk. Emily shared her love for caring for others, how she tried to stay strong for her sister. How sometimes she forgot what rest even felt like. Liam listened without interrupting, like every word mattered. He told her about his life in Toronto, how he once built a future with someone he trusted only to have it fall apart. He had moved to Seattle to start over and learn how to rebuild peace inside himself. Their stories tangled, together like two broken threads trying to weave something whole. Sometimes they fell silent, but the quiet felt warm, not awkward. Emily could feel her guard slowly melting. She wasn't used to being this open. She barely recognized her own voice as she shared her fears, her hopes, the parts of herself she usually hid. Liam didn't react with pity or judgment. He responded with calm understanding, as if he knew exactly what it meant to feel lost and still try to help others find their way. During a pause, Emily lifted her gaze and caught his eyes in the mirror again. This time, she didn't look away. Something unspoken passed between them, something neither of them dared to name yet. Her heart beat louder, and not from nerves, but from hope she thought she had buried years ago. Liam moved to gently stretch her arms and shoulders. His touch stayed professional, yet full of care that felt personal. She noticed the way he focused on every movement, how he seemed to take the responsibility of her comfort seriously. It wasn't just a job for him. He genuinely wanted to help her feel better. When the session ended, Emily sat up slowly, feeling lighter in a way that didn't come from relaxed muscles. Liam handed her a glass of water, but his hands hesitated just a moment, as if he wanted to hold on to the moment a little longer. Sometimes, he said quietly, healing starts when we let someone else be there for us. Emily's breath caught again. She wondered how he always knew the right thing to say. Before she could stop herself, she asked, "Do you always make your clients feel special?" Liam looked surprised for a second, then answered truthfully, "No, you're different." Her cheeks warmed. Her heart raced. She didn't know how to respond. The world outside the room felt far away, as though only this moment mattered. Liam took a slow breath, gathering courage. Then, almost shyly, he spoke. "Emily, maybe we could talk outside of here sometime. Coffee. A walk? Only if you want to." His voice was soft but brave. Emily froze. The invitation felt both exciting and terrifying. Her mind filled with alarms. Don't risk getting hurt again. Don't trust too fast. Don't repeat old mistakes. But her heart whispered something else. This feels real. Don't run from it. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Fear wrapped around her like a tight blanket. She didn't want to disappoint him, but she also didn't know how to take a chance again. Finally, she stood up and gave him a polite, quiet smile. "Thank you," she whispered. Then walked out before her emotions could spill over. Liam watched her leave, feeling a mix of regret and hope. He hadn't pushed, but he knew something meaningful had sparked between them. He didn't want to ruin her peace or make her uncomfortable. Still, he couldn't stop caring already. Emily stepped outside into the cool air, her heart pounding with a storm of confusion. She leaned on a wall, breathing deeply, wondering why saying yes felt so scary. It wasn't that she didn't like him. It was that she liked him too much. As she walked down the street, raindrops began to fall again. The city blurred into soft reflections on the ground. She hugged herself tightly, not from cold, but from the overwhelming rush of emotion. She didn't know if she was ready to let love back into her life. She didn't know if she could handle another heartbreak. But she also didn't know how to forget someone who made her feel like healing was possible. That night, lying in bed, Emily stared at the ceiling just like always. But this time she smiled through her confusion, for the first time in a long while. She felt something growing inside her that wasn't pain or fear. It was hope. And even though she didn't yet choose which path to take, one thing was clear. Liam was no longer just a memory from a perfect massage. He had become a part of the story her heart was learning to write again. Liam stood near the spa window long after Emily left, watching the rain fall like tiny shards of worry. He tried to focus on his next clients, but his mind kept drifting back to her. He had met many people in his work, but something about her felt different. Her silence had spoken louder than words. The way she forced herself to stay strong made him want to help her, not as a therapist, but as someone who understood pain and healing over the next days. He waited, hoping she would return for another appointment. He checked the schedule far too often. Each time he saw her name missing, his heart dropped a little heavier. Maybe he had crossed a line by asking to see her outside of work. Maybe she was uncomfortable or disturbed by his question. He didn't want to be someone who caused more pain in her life. He had done that once before, and he promised himself never again. Meanwhile, Emily tried to continue her life as if nothing had changed. She woke up early, pulled her hair into the same messy bun, and headed to the hospital. She smiled politely when spoken to, but inside she felt a quiet ache. Not a painful ache, but a yearning. She found herself thinking about the massage unexpectedly throughout the day, not because of the relief in her muscles, but because of the relief in her spirit. She remembered how carefully Liam had spoken, how he seemed to notice what she didn't say, how he offered comfort without asking for anything. Those thoughts came to her while she pushed hospital beds, while she entered patient notes, while she waited for the elevator alone. His words followed her like a soft voice saying, "You deserve softness too." Emily tried to convince herself she was just lonely, and that anyone kind would have made her feel something. But deep down she knew it wasn't that simple. She had met plenty of kind people, and none of them stayed in her thoughts like Liam did. She tried to ignore the sudden hope inside her. But hope had already taken root. One evening, after another exhausting shift, she walked along the waterfront, the smell of salt and wet pavement filling the air. The city lights reflected in the waves like tiny lanterns floating on water. She often came here when she didn't know what she wanted. Tonight, she stood still, hugging herself against the wind, trying to decide if she should let her heart feel again. Love had once promised her forever and then vanished without warning. She wasn't sure she could risk opening that door again. But she also wasn't sure she could keep living with all the doors closed. As she stared out at the horizon, she heard footsteps behind her. Slow, hesitant, as if the person wasn't sure whether to come closer. Emily turned her head slightly and saw someone familiar holding 2 cups of hot chocolate. It was Liam. His hair was damp from the rain, and his nervous smile looked nothing like the calm confidence he had in the spa. He held out one of the cups to her. "I wasn't sure you'd want this," he said, "but I came anyway." His voice was soft, vulnerable, like he was afraid of the moment too. Emily took the cup, her fingers brushing his just briefly. The warmth rushed into her hands and spread to her heart. "Thank you," she whispered, surprised at how grateful she felt. She didn't ask how he found her. A small part of her already knew. He had been hoping just as much as she had. They walked slowly along the water, their steps matching without effort. Liam explained that he often came to this place when he needed to think. It helped him breathe. When he saw her there, he didn't want to miss the chance to speak with her again. Emily felt her walls trying to rise, trying to protect her. But something inside her was tired of being afraid. He talked about his life before Seattle. He had once fallen in love too deeply, placed all his trust in the wrong person, and lost more than he could handle. He had moved to a new city to rebuild himself. That was when he discovered massage therapy, a way to help others heal while learning to heal his own wounds. Emily listened closely. His voice carried truth, not grand promises. He wasn't trying to impress her or charm her. He was simply sharing who he was. She liked that. She liked him more than she wanted to admit. For a long moment, neither spoke. The space between them filled with unsaid hopes. Finally, Liam turned to her. "I want to know you," he said softly. "Not just your stress or your tiredness. The real you, the one who still hopes for good things even when life has been hard." That sentence hit her like a gentle wave, steady and honest. Emily felt emotions rising inside her, but not the painful kind. These emotions felt like light coming back after years of darkness. She looked into his eyes, seeing not perfection, but sincerity. "I don't know if I'm ready," she admitted. Her voice shook, but she spoke the truth. "I'm scared." Liam nodded. "I'm scared too." He took a small step closer, not touching her, just letting her feel his presence. "We don't have to rush anything. We can take this one small step at a time." In that moment, Emily realized that healing didn't always come from trying harder. Sometimes it came from letting someone stand beside you. She didn't need guarantees. She didn't need certainty. She only needed courage for the next small step. She let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. "Okay," she said quietly. "One step at a time." Liam smiled, and it wasn't a smile of victory, but of relief. A shared relief. They continued walking along the waterfront, talking about favorite movies, embarrassing childhood memories, and dreams they had forgotten to chase. Each moment felt gentle, natural, like two lonely hearts finally found a place to rest. Emily didn't know where this connection would lead. She didn't expect a perfect love story, but she knew something had changed. Her heart, once guarded and silent, had started to open again. That night, as they parted with a simple goodbye filled with hope, Emily stepped toward a future she once thought impossible. She wasn't completely healed, but she was healing. She wasn't completely brave, but she was no longer afraid to try. And for the first time in a long while, she felt touched by more than hands. She felt touched by possibility.